Okay, anh
Hello.
Thư, anh Thư,
Have
right.
you checked my attendance yet?
I check your attendance already.
But you cannot see my face, right?
Yes, cannot see
Okay,
your
I'm
face.
fixing it. I'm so
Mm,
sorry. I'm fixing
okay,
it.
right. So, you see my name on the unit guide. My name is Lynn, and I have been lecturing here for around like nearly like more than 5 years. And I like my major is on finance and accounting. So later on, if we still have a chance with each others, we will see each other in corporate finance, because I know your major is not finance, it's IB, right? So I think corporate finance is our last, chance to see each other again. But hopefully, we don't have to see each other, for this PE course one more time. Okay, that means you study again. All right. So here for my class, it's very, there are some very basic thing that I would like you to follow. Okay. Right. So I will share with you firstly the formula that we use to calculate your score. Okay, because that's very important for you to know first before we learn our main section today. Okay, here. Okay, so can all of you see my screen? Yes, right. All right. You can react to me, or like I can see all of your face here. So just give me any reactions. All right. So first of all, that would be the formula that we use to calculate your PE or GPA. Okay. So here you can see that there are two main components. That would be the midterm score and then the final score. Why is that? Because you see that on the MyIP system, when you view your result, there are just only very three basic columns: the midterm column, the final column, and then your very important one, that is the GPA. Okay, so for this course, we will compute your midterm exam, like midterm score, based on three components: problem set, midterm exam, and then presentation. Final score would be the in-class quiz, the group projects, and then the final exam. Okay. All right, so it means that it just simply means that all of your, assessment will be considered in your GPA. Okay, so you need to have a good performance for all the assessment to have a good GPA. All right, so for the midterm score, that would be problem set. All right, so I know all of you here understand problem set because this is kind of your exercise at home. And the deadline for the problem set is already, is very clear on e-learning. So I just need you to keep up with the deadline and then to finish the problem set on time. Okay. And I don't want to receive any message from you that asking me to reopen the problem set for your case. If you just say that, right, I forget, or like I am having too much workload and I just forget the deadline, okay, I will not accept that reason, because I give you around 7 days to 9 days to complete each problem set. Okay, so it means do the problem set and that's all. Okay, in case if you get sick and then you have evidence, or like you have some of the family issue, but with evidence, so that I can reopen the problem set for you. Okay, I want you to know is that I would like to make it fair for all the students, because all of you, if you complete the problem set on time, that would be your reward. Okay, but if you don't complete on time, so that would be a penalty for you. All right, so we have 10 problem set. It means I will take an average of 10 problem set to come up with your final here. Okay, and next one would be the midterm exam. All right, this is an MCQ test. Uh, Only the microeconomy. Okay, it means we learn two different, and like two different things about economy, micro and macro. So we only test you microeconomy for the midterms. Okay, it means from chapter 1 to 21. There are some chapters that we don't learn, within that range. Okay, so just follow the schedule. And MCQ, no source answer, and 20%. Okay. Next one would be presentation. I think this my sorry, Dr. Long has acknowledged you already. This is something like a a random presentation that he will call you to present a certain part of the chapters, and then the score will be given individually, even though you may present in groups, okay, individually. So it's up to your own performance. And next, in the final column, 3 other smaller components. In class quiz, all right, this is the one you will have to complete in my class. Okay, this is for me to know your real performance. All right, it is not similar to a prompt set, because for the prompt set, I know that all of you here, it's not all of you, but some of you may copy the answer somewhere, or like may, ask for the other student to give the answers. Okay, or like you just do the prompt set in group and then share the answer with each other. Okay, I know all of that because I used to be a student like you, but the thing is, I don't care about that. All right. The thing that I care mostly is about whether you understand your answers or not. All right. We study is for our knowledge, not just to, do something to have a high score like that. Okay. Right. So make sure when you choose the answer, you must know the reason. If you don't know, you need to ask your friends or like you ask me, okay, to clearly understand. Otherwise, that would be very, um, very like difficult for you for later examinations. Okay, very dangerous too. And the last, like the next one would be the group projects. All right, so I will acknowledge to you more about the requirements in some upcoming section. Okay, so you will have to complete the group projects with your classmate, with your group mates. Okay, follow the group list on e-learning. And the final exam plus 30%. So only the macroeconomies from chapter 23 to 35. All right, so separately, micro and macro. Midterms is for micro, final is for macro. Okay, so only MCQ, no short answer, just right or wrong. Okay. All right, so is there anything that you are unclear? Just feel free to raise the hand here and ask me. And okay, before I give you the time to ask question, right, there's something that is very important in my class that I would like you to understand. Firstly, in my class, uh, the thing that is more important for me is not whether you study good or study bad, because I know your learning ability is different. Okay, so the thing I care most in my class is about your attitude. Okay, where if you study bad but you are willing to learn, so that will be a plot for you. Okay, it's attitude. And the second point is that I always want to give the student the incentive to be active in my class. So every time in my class you raise the hand, you ask question or you answer my question, and then I call you. So I will record that as one. So I will, convert all of the contribution into your score and then add them back into your sixth assessment. Okay, that's just to better your score. All right, so that will be a win-win situation. You receive the bonus, and then we also make the class to be energetics. Okay, so that's just what I want in my section. All right, so yeah, that's just two very important points that I would like you to know. So any question before we go to the main revision today? Any other things? Right, feel free to ask me. Okay, don't worry. So if no other question, yeah, you can show your reaction on your face because I can see all of you here, right, online. But okay, so Kim Kung, please. What is your question? Yes, Kung, I see you raise the hand. Right, you can unmute yourself and, tell me. Okay, Kim Kung. All right, maybe just a mistake or something. All right. So again, you can raise the hand and ask question. All right, so Quỳnh Lam.
Yes, so could
Mm.
I ask about the type of the in-class quizzes? So we will do the multiple choice questions like problem sets. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay, so only MCQ for this course, no short answers. And then for the time of the in-class quiz, so it depends on the number of the question. maybe if I give you 12 MCQ, I give you 15 minutes. But if I give you more than that, so I will extend the time. All right. So don't worry too much about that, because before you do the quiz, I will acknowledge more about today's requirements for that quiz.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And Thảo, right? Thanh Thảo.
Yes. I'm the problem says that you don't allow us to know what wrong our questions, and you don't publish us the grade. So can you allow the permission so that we can know what wrong question we made to to ask you in our tutorial lecture.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me. All right. So for the prompt set, you are allowed to know your score when the deadline is over. It means when we have the close date. So it means that today is, all right, we have the deadline for the prompt set on 26th of January for prompt set 1. It means that after that time, you are allowed to view the question and then you know the answer as well. All right. Yeah, so just go to e-learning, and then after the close date, you can view all of your question, the one that's right, the one that's wrong, right? It's all available on e-learning. Okay, right. And Cường, right? I think you raised the hand, but I cannot hear you.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
unmute? Yes, Cường.
Can you hear me now?
Right, I can hear you
I don't
now.
want to make excuses. I don't want to make excuses. First, the problem set number 1, the teachers doesn't mention it, so I have missed the problem set 1. Can I have any chance to do it again, or I will just have to take it?
Really, that Dr. Long has not mentioned anything about prompt sets? Is it
Yeah,
the
I
case?
think she.
All right.
Yeah, so to me, I don't remember he has mentioned that we have problem sets.
Right,
Yeah,
but Cường,
I think it is.
I think that it's just only your case, like your friend, they complete the prompt set already.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Okay, just
yeah.
wait a
Okay, so I
second.
think it is my fault. I
All
think
right. Okay.
if
So
this is.
yeah, I'm
Um,
sorry. Wait a bit. Let me check it one more time. This is PE 11, right? PE 11. Let's see. All right. I think it's not only you, but maybe 5 other students. I don't really know what happened in your class, but is it the case? Is it true that Dr. Long has not mentioned anything about prompt set requirement? Is it correct? I don't know. Okay, who is the class monitor? Can you tell me the truth?
I am the class monitor.
All right, your name is Anh Thư. Okay, Anh Thư.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that he has mentioned, maybe not direct, but a little bit. Yeah.
okay,
I
but a
think
little
it's
bit,
just
right?
about the deadline, because yeah, kiểu deadline ở trên e-learning mọi người hay quên thôi, cô chắc cũng không sao.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So that would be thanks to a lot for your answer. So that would be the first lesson for you guys. Okay, just keep up with the deadline, then yeah, do the prompt set. So I think for that 5 student, maybe next time you need to pay more attention. All right. As for me, missing one prompt set is not really a big deal because you have up to 10 prompt sets. Okay, only one, it doesn't affect your score much. Only 0.1 or 0.2, I think so. Okay, right. So again, next time, please pay attention. All right, so I think it's time for us to move to the revision. All right, so today's section is that we will have a look at 1, 2, 3. Then we have a break of 15 minutes. So we will come back to correct the prompt set 1, and we continue the 3 remaining chapters. Then at the end, we have a quiz for you. All right, so that will be our today content. Right. So first of all, let's talk about chapter 1. All right, I think you learned that chapter a very long times ago, and then now this is nearly like that holidays. All right, so hopefully you remember something about chapter 1. Okay, so student, please, any keyword you remember in chapter 1, let me know. Right, raise the hand and be active. Okay, so Khánh Huyền, please, the first one. Yes, Khánh Huyền.
I remember the first keyword is the 10 principle of economics.
Okay, 10 principle of economics, right? And then I think this is also the titles of the chapters. All right. Okay, so thanks, Huyền. What about Lam?
Yeah,
Lam.
the first thing, yes, the first thing that I remember about the first lesson is also 10 principles. However, I could add up like the thing that I remember most is the opportunity cost.
Okay,
Is the
very good.
yeah.
All right, right. Just feel free to share. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that the opportunity cost is the thing that you have to give up to get
The cost, right, in chapter 1, and then that is about what you give up to obtain something that you want. All right, very good. What about the class monitor, Anh Thư?
Yeah, for the last lesson, I remember the most the tab 2, the law of supply and demand. When the price increase, then the demand decrease, something like that. I really love that one. And also some keywords about surplus and price ceiling and the price floor. Yeah.
All right, very good. Okay, so with the very first chapters, right? Maybe just I think that in the last 2 weeks we'll discuss the first chapter of this class, and that is about 10 principles of economics, right? So that is usually the answer I receive from the student when I ask them, right, what did you learn in the previous chapter 1? And then usually students tell me that I learned 10 principles of economics. But the problem is that now, if I asked you to close all of your textbook or of your materials and tell me exactly 10 principles of economics, so can you do so? Just ask you very honest, can you do so? Maybe impossible, right? Okay, maybe if we are not very well prepared, so it would be impossible for us to just provide the name for a 10 principle. Okay, or even if we provide the name, but what exactly the meaning behind those principles? Okay, so that's why you have my section here, because I will not teach you all the things again, but I will focus on the main point that is delivered. Firstly, for your knowledge. Okay, so when you learn something, right, your knowledge is more important. Your critical thinking ability is developed from the kinds of learning. Okay, and secondly, it's for your examination. Okay, so what would be the main point here? Right. So even though we learn 10 principles of economics, but there are some key concepts that each of you here must be able to understand and yeah, give an example. Okay. So first of all, I think that no one had mentioned that concept to me. So can anyone tell me there's a very key concept in chapter 1? Anyone, can you tell me the name of that concept? No one had mentioned it yet. Okay, so yes, what about Mai?
I think the concept of chapter 1 is the scarcity.
The scarcity. Okay, so why do what kinds of the resources that you just mentioned about scarcity?
The nature of society resources.
All right, so yeah, or we can talk about any kinds of resources, right? It could be the natural resources, it could be our money, or it could be the time we have or the efforts we have for some things. Okay, so when we talk about scarcity of resources, there's a very important concept that linked with scarcity. So can you tell me the name of that concept? Yeah, right. It can be other student, please. Okay, so Bảo Lâm. Mm. Mm. All right, very good. Right, so here, one of the very first thing that we discussed in chapter 1 is about trade-off, right? And then I know that all of you here, when you make any decision, you face trade-off. Because very important, like I just mentioned about the time and then your efforts. When you choose something, you cannot use that for another things, right? So the reason why people face trade-off is about the thing that Mai just mentioned, okay? Because the resources we have are limited, okay? Like time we have in a day just only 24 hours. It's not 48 or more than 48, or more than 24. And for firm too, when they make decision to invest in a certain kinds of projects, right? They only have a limited budget for that projects, limited, amount of capital used, right? So they need to think very carefully before they make any decision because that will affect to their value of the firms and then affect to others related parties. Okay, so the thing is that we learn about trade-off, right? Every time we make decision, we face trade-off because resources are scarce, okay, are limited, right? So as we talk about trade-off, we learn another concept that directly linked to trade-off, and one of you just mentioned it before. That is called the opportunity cost. Okay, right. So opportunity cost, that concept is super important, guy. We will not see that concept in this course only, but for other courses like IB, your major is IB, right? So in international business, in corporate finance, you will see that concept again. Okay, because it's linked to trade. Right. So as I think that maybe Lam just mentioned about opportunity cost. That is what you give up to obtain something. Okay, right. So today, for example, when you have lunch, right, you have 50,000 VND. So you can choose to buy a bowl of phở or maybe a bowl of bún bò, right? So if you use your money to choose the bowl of phở, so can you tell me what is the opportunity cost of choosing that bowl of phở, right? Following my example. All right, so Bảo Lâm, please. Right. It means you will have to give up the value of the bún bò, right? Okay, so as following my example, you see that I don't talk about the money here. I don't talk about the 50,000 VND. Okay, so again, when you weigh something on a scale to make decision, those things must have at least similar in terms of value, so that it will make your comparison to be valid. Otherwise, if you weigh something too high and then something too low, and then you say that that is my trade-off, so in that case, we will consider the value of the money in that case. Okay, for example, if I say that, all right, the value for the bowl of bún bò is just only 30,000, but the value of phở is 50,000. So if I spend 50,000 to buy a bowl of phở, I will give up the bowl of bún bò, right? Plus the difference between the price of phở and bún bò. So that would be 20,000 BND. Okay, that is okay when we consider the value of money, right? But for other case, we will not or we should not consider the money in our, opportunity cost consideration. Okay, right. So, can anyone give me another example about opportunity cost from your own experience? Okay, I need to make sure of you here understand. So, Tú Uyên.
Yes, so like for instance, like if you choose to do your homework, so you have so the cost that you have to trade is that instead of like playing games or like just having a nap, you choose to like spend your time and effort into doing like a problem set, like in order to gain knowledge. So to me, even though that's really simple, it's also something called an opportunity cost.
Okay, right, very good. Yeah. I think that the best way to give example, like to remember the knowledge, to give some example that link directly to you. Okay, like Uyên just mentioned about the problem set. So if we spend an hour to do the problem set, it means we cannot use that an hour to do the other thing if you focus 100% on the problem set. Okay, right. Or maybe you spend the time in the class here, you cannot use it to do the other thing. But listen carefully, guys. If you study by 100% of focus. Okay, so that when we talk about opportunity cost, but for some of you, if you just study online and then you chatting with your friends, or like you do some kinds of shopping online, or Shopee or Lazada searching, okay, that is not opportunity cost. All right, okay. So before we move to another concept, I would like to give you another example, okay, just to make sure you all here understand. Okay, so have you learned MB before, Mathematics for Business? Have you learned it? All right.
We are
I
Last
mean, in this semester.
this trimester, okay, this trimester. Have you learned accounting? Principle of accounting? Last trimester, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I think you must know about interest. Okay, have you heard about the term interest before? Interest payment, right? It's like when you deposit the money into a bank for a certain amount of time, and then you will get your money back with the interest payment. That is a reward for you. Okay, right. So now we all know that Tet holiday is coming. And then what is the thing that you know you're waiting for that holidays for some kinds of going out with your friends, or maybe the most important thing is to receive a lucky money. Okay, lucky money, because you guys still very young. So lucky money. And then now this year you guys are business student already, so you are thinking about a way to enlarge that money. Okay, make an investment, right? So now let's imagine that we have 5 million for our lucky money, and then you want to enlarge that amount of money. So I give you two options. Okay, the first option is that you can deposit that money into a bank, right? And then earn the interest rate. For example, for a year, the interest rate would be 10% on that 5 million. Okay, for example, that would be your first option. Secondly, all right, some of you here join the F&I club of ISB, okay, Finance Investment Club. And then you heard about the stock market, right? Thị trường chứng khoán. And you are curious. So now you have money on your hand, and then you are curious about the stock market. So you may want to invest all that 5 million in the stock market. Okay, because very basic, everyone here want to buy low and sell high and then earn the returns. Okay, so now my question for you. What is the opportunity cost of putting that 5 million lucky money in the stock market? All right. So what is your answers? Right, I see some student here. Okay, I think this class is pretty like active. Yeah, so let me call Uyên Phương. Yes, Uyên Phương.
I think that you will, like, you can lose all the money if you lose when you like try to trading in the stock market.
Okay, right. So again, Phương, but we don't know, right? We can win or we can lose. But the thing here is about what you give up as you put the money in the stock market. All right. Okay. So thanks for your answers. What about a new student here? We have Thảo Trang. Yes, Thảo Trang.
I think that the opportunity cost will be all the activities that we can use that money if we don't use the money to put in the stock market.
All right. So following my example, so what is the others options that we give up here? Can you tell me?
Maybe buy new clothes or you.
All right. My
use-
example. Right. You still remember my example, right? I give you just only two options.
Can you say again the options?
Okay, all right. So don't worry. I think you understand my point, right? So I will give the change for other students, but don't worry, I will still record your contribution. Okay, so what about Phương Nghi, a new student? Yes,
So
Phương Nghi.
of the interest that you earn in a bank.
All right, very good, right? So if you give me that answer, I think you understand what I mean by the opportunity cost, right? As we use all of our 5 million to invest in the stock market, we will lose the chance to earn the 10% of interest payment if we deposit at the bank. All right, so that would be the thing that we give up and we put our all money in the stock market. Okay, so later on you could see that, right, when firm they use their money to make investment, they need to consider opportunity cost very carefully, because if they choose an investment, right, that also bring them the return, but the opportunity cost for them is very high, so they need to consider the other alternative. Okay, right. So that is about the opportunity cost. Okay, so I think that I will spend maybe time to ask you one more question before we can move to the next part. All right, so I think I will ask you a question in the problem set that hopefully you can give me the correct answers. All right, so this is the question I would like to ask you. So, given this question, what is your answer? What is the opportunity cost of going to college? All right, I know you complete this problem set at home, but tell me what is your answer here and explain to me. Okay, so Tú Uyên. Yes,
Okay.
Tú Uyên.
So let's say that you choose to go to a university or a college, right? So basically most of us are already 18, so we could have used that time in order to like go to have pick up some like part-time jobs or like to gain some money, to gain some working experiences, but we didn't, and then we choose to attend a university or a college in order to like gain more knowledge, stuff like that. So I think that the opportunity for you to go to work is something that can call an opportunity cost as well.
So your answer for this question is which of the following answers are Uyên? Yes, Uyên. All right, I understand what you mean, but what is your answer here for this question? Can you tell me? A, B, C, or D?
Okay, hold on. Oh, I actually saw like 4 options on the screen right now. So are these the options of these questions?
Yes, these are the options for the question, right? So what is your answers?
Okay, hold on. Yeah, so it is like the value of like the best opportunity that like a student can get if they give up to attend the college.
All right, so you choose the first option, right? Okay,
Yes.
so I think this is also the correct answer here. All right, very good. But anyone, can you explain to me why we don't choose this three options? Right, we cannot choose B and D, right? Because this is zero, and then that's not the case when we talk about going to college. Because when we don't go to college, there are others opportunity for us. We may work for a company with a full-time position, but the salary is pretty low. And we can also pursue our, dreams to become a singer or like to be an athlete or a football player if we don't go to college. So it's not zero, okay? Because if you don't go to college, there must be some other opportunity that you give up, right? Okay, so we cannot choose B and D, but what about C? Why we don't choose C here? Anyone? Um, yes, let me call Lam again. I think Lam raised the hand firstly. So Lam.
Yes. So my answer is because opportunity cost of something is the thing that you give up to get it. But the option A is said that the total spend on food or something is like expenses. It's not an opportunity cost of going to college because this is the expense you must to pay even though you don't go to the college.
All right,
So
very
I
good.
think yeah.
All right, all right. I think I understand what you mean. Yes, so that question is for you to understand again what we mean by opportunity cost. That is not cost, but that is what you give up to obtain something. Okay? Like you go to college, but we need to spend on our food, clothing, and book and transportation even if we don't go to college. So that is not something that we give up, right? So again, that means we cannot choose this option C, but our final answer would be the option 8, right? But I want you to know that we have some meaning behind these terms. Okay, so when you choose an answer, make sure that you understand every word here. Like, what is the meaning of best opportunities? If I change this into another terms, so will the answer is be correct if it's second best or like the third best opportunities or whatever. So what would be, will this answer be correct? Okay, so let me explain the term best opportunity for you on why we have this term in this question. Okay, right. So here, let's go back to our sharing. Okay, here. All right. So look at this question. Do you know what is it? What is it, guys? One, and then with 4 options here. What is it? You've seen this many times. You've seen this question, like, okay, so Huynh. This Huynh, what is that?
I think it is the multiple choice question, but I also think it is opportunity cost example.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Huynh, for your answers. Right, this is a multiple choice question, right? When okay, I haven't had the name for the question, but yeah, if we have the name, so that would be an MCQ, right? So when you choose an answer for an MCQ, we face opportunity cost, right? Okay, so look at here. If you have this question in the upcoming midterm examination for PE, and all right, this is a pretty challenging question. So even though you study, but you don't know what is the correct answers, okay? I think that every one of us once had this experience before. So after your carefully consideration, you decide to eliminate C and D, and then you just consider A and B. So as you are running out of time, now you decide to choose A as the final answer. Okay? Right, so now my question for you, what is the opportunity cost of choosing A? What is the opportunity cost of choosing A here? Yes, Thư.
Yeah, so if you choose A, you will miss the option B when it is correct. So you have to give up the stability, something like that.
All right. All right. So your answer is that we will have to give up the option B.
No, we
Okay.
have option B, C, D because we're not sure whether C or D is correct or incorrect, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we may not talk. All right. We may not talk about the consequence here, right? Because we just need to know what is the thing that we give up, right? Because A could be the correct answer or could be the wrong answer. We don't know about it yet, but we just need to know that, right? When I choose A, what is the thing that I give up? This is all for the opportunity cost. All right. All right. So that is two answer, right? Okay. So thanks Thu for your answer. What about Lâm? What is it? What about Lâm answers? B is A is 2. Okay, can you be more clearer with your answers? Okay. Right. The possibilities that are the option is 2. Okay, right. That would be your answers. And okay, thanks Lâm for your answer. What about the one that I haven't called you yet, Ngọc Hân?
I think that if you choose A, it will be the opportunity cost.
Can you repeat your answers? I just missed the first sentence. So if we choose A,
You choose A, so B, C, and D will be the opportunity cost. I think so.
okay, all right. So Hân answer. All right. So here, the thing is that we just care about our choice. Okay, so we don't talk about consequence in opportunity cost consideration. Okay, so we may you may give me the answers like right or wrong or something similar, like incorrect or correct, the possibility or something like that. But the case that opportunity cost is something that you give up, right? Okay, so here, if we don't choose A, so what would be your choice in this case? That's just all. Okay, so can we choose B and C and D at the same time? No, impossible. We can only choose one of the given options because our resources are limited. Okay, or like the requirement for the question is just one answer to be correct. All right, so here B and C and D are considered to be the set of opportunities because that will be our alternative. If we don't choose A, we can only choose B or C or D, right? So as you have eliminated C and D, so B is considered to be the best one within this set of opportunities. So that's why you have the terms here, that is the value of the best opportunities a student give up to attend college. Okay, so it's like when you choose to do something, you will have a list of priorities. Okay, so when you choose the first one in your priority list, you will give up the second best, right? So the second best here, that is the option B, right? But within the set of opportunities, B is the best one. So you give up that opportunities. Okay, you see what I mean, right? All right, so that is all about opportunities. Okay, so I spend quite a large amount of time to discuss opportunity cost because that is super important. Okay, I want you to know that. So at this point, I think that all students here understand clearly about opportunity cost, right? Okay, hopefully. Right, so the next point, the last point already in chapter 1 that we discussed is about types of economy. So types of economy, what I want to ask you is that as you learn chapter 1, can you tell me how many types of economy that we have learned? Right, anyone? Yes, what about Lam?
Yes, we've learned two types of economics, microeconomics and macroeconomics.
Okay, so yes, I think that when Lam provide me that answers, that is a very typical answer I received from the student too, because we learned about micro and macro, that is correct, but micro and macro, all of them are the study of a certain economy. Okay, just for one economy. For example, if we talk about Vietnam economy, we can study macro factors. It's like the thing of the thing that affect the economy as a whole. But if we talk about micro, it means we just talk about individual firm and decision-making process on how they operate the market. Okay, but it's just one economy. Okay, types of economy I mean here is about how our economy is organized. Okay, so Phương Nhi.
I think two type, it's not two type. The first is market economy and the second one is communist country central planning.
Okay, all
economy.
right, very good. Yeah, so that would be the centrally planned economy, and then this is presented here, right? So, given this, difference, market economy and centrally planned economy, so as I told you, is that who is the one to organize economic activities, right? So as you can see that the market economy, I use the word the US here to represent the United States because the United States is one of the very typical country that strictly follow the market economy. And for the centrally planned economy, I have the word NK here. So NK stands for a country that strictly follow the centrally planned, that is not Korea. Okay, right. So for the market economy, that the price of the good will be determined based on the law of supply and demand that we learned in chapter 4. Okay, like the figure here. Okay, so the equilibrium is where you have QD equal to QS and then nothing called surplus or shortage here. Okay, right. So buyer and seller, they will just interact with each other to make decision here. They will follow their best interest to make decision and bring the market into efficiency. All right, that is for the market economy. But for the centrally planned, it is believed that efficiency is still there if we have the hand of the government. So government is the one to control everything here for the centrally planned, like the price, the quantity, and then others welfare received by buyer and seller is all under the control of the government. Okay, all right. So talk about the first economy, the market economy. We have the very new terms, Adam Smith invisible hand. So what is your understanding for that terms? Can you tell me? I think that we heard this term before in chapter 1, but what is it? Anyone? Okay, share with me what you remember about Invisible Hand by Adam Smith. Right. So, hand means that we have, the force of someone. But that force is invisible. We don't see. Okay, so why we did that first? Because sometimes the market may be inefficient. That we have to, have some other factors to come up together and bring the market into equilibrium or efficiency. Okay, so Adam Smith invisible hand is that ideas, right? So given this idea, it just simply means that buyers and sellers, they will interact with each other to determine the equilibrium and then bring the market into efficiency without the need of government. Okay, so let me give you an illustration. All right, so you can see the figure here. This is the market at equilibrium, right? But you will see that if we have the price that is too high like this, so what happened here? As we learn, how do we call these problems? It is a subplot, right? Okay, a subplot. So a subplot happens when we have QD to be smaller than QS. Okay, we have the mismatching between them. This is QS, and then this is our QD, right? So firm, they produce too much because the price is high. That is an incentive for firm to produce more. But the problem is that when the price too high, some consumer may not buy the products. Okay, may not buy the product from this market. They will choose another firms or like another product, for example. Okay, so we have a subplot here, which is this area, right? So how can we eliminate the subplots and bring the market into equilibrium again? All right, so here for firms, they produce a large amount of products, but they cannot sell it. So that would be a huge problem, right? Because firm paid cost for their production, and then now they cannot sell the products. So, right, firm need to do something to get rid of that. So in this case, firm will have to lower the price gradually. Okay, as they lower the price gradually, so consumer may signal that from the firms. Okay, some of them will return the market and then buy the products and then pay the firm with their money. All right, so at the firm have the money, so that will, at least cover the subplot. All right, so that process will gradually lower and lower the price until the price equal exactly to the previous equilibrium. So the subplot is eliminated given the force of supply and demand. Okay, you see my point? Right. And then that is also the case when we talk about the price and it is below the equilibriums. Okay, for example. Okay, so when the price too low, you see that, right? For the consumer, they may want a large amount of products, but too low price means that some firm cannot sell the products at a very low price at the cost for them is too much, so they leave the market. So QD larger than QS. All right, so now what happened? Okay, so for these consumer, if they want to buy the products, they need to hire their, willing to pay for the products. Okay, it means that previously you are willing to pay only 5 for the products, but now we are lacking of the product available in the market. So we need to increase our willing to pay from 5 to 6 or maybe to 8 or 7. All right. So when the firm research the market to launch the product again, they will see the reaction from the consumer so that they can high the price, right? So gradually they high the price and the process, is over. So the price is one more time equal to the equilibriums so that the shortage here is eliminated. Okay. So again, we don't even need to handle the government here. It's just buyer and seller, they interact to make decision. All right. So is the government? What is your answers for that question? Does mean that we don't need government here? Okay, so what about Wing Phương?
We still have government to like fix the law about the price ceiling and the price floor. So it will make the market balance to its equilibrium. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's full answer, right? So the thing here is that, right? Even though the market can correct itself, can go to the equilibrium and then achieve efficiency, but we don't know about the time. How long do it take the market here to be in efficiency? If the time is too long, so it means that buyer and seller is the one to be worse off, right? Somehow, the price too low or too high. Yeah. So it means that we still need the government here to faster the process, okay? To do something like price control, price ceiling, price floor to stabilize the market to prevent any inefficiency to be occur, right? Because later on you will learn that it's not always the market to be in the efficiency, right? Sometimes seller they may exercise too much market powers that make the price too high, like a monopoly. So without the government, and then if the market, firm keep exercising their market power in that way, so consumer is the one to be worse off. Okay, and then we cannot buy the products, right? Okay, so that's when we have the hand of the government here. Okay, so what do you think about Vietnam? Which economy that we belong to? Is it a market or centrally planned? Okay, what is your idea for that question? All right, so Lam, what is your answers?
So my answer is Vietnam used to be a centrally planned economy, but after đổi mới, the government has redirected their strategy for market economy. I mean, the Vietnamese government is approaching an ideal, I mean, like a market economy like the US or other developed countries in the world.
Okay, very good answers. Right. So we know that maybe 10 or 20 years ago, we may follow the centrally planned economy as you research the history, or like you can watch some of the very old movies, right? So when the farmer, they grow the products, right? The piece of land is not even their properties, but it's under the control of the government. And even if they sell the product, but they are not the one to sell the products. They will have to collect all of that and then bring to the authorities, so the authorities will sell the product and then give them some kinds of percentage remaining. So they are not the one to determine their price and then the quantity to be supplied in the market in that case. Okay. But as we're approaching, the new century, and then we join some of the agreement with other countries, so we learn the benefit of trade. And then we learn about the market economy, and then we are moving, nearer and nearer to approaching the market economy after the 20,000, year 20,000. Okay, so nowadays, it's better to say that, right? We are a market economy, but under the control of the government. So we are a mix of market economy and centrally planned. But the force of the market economy is tend to be larger compared to the centrally planned economy of other foreign countries. Okay, like you see that some products we need the governments, like electricity, waters, and gasoline. These are the products when firm, they can exercise their market power very well. So yes, we need the price control for these products. But for some other product that we see the force of the government is pretty small, like our commodities, vegetable, the food, the clothes we buy, right? So those kinds of products strictly follow this market economy. Okay, right. So which means that when we learn something, we can link to the realities, and then that will help you to develop your understanding better. Okay, so that's just all the point to be covered in chapter 1. Okay, firstly, trade-off, secondly, opportunity cost, and thirdly, types of economy. Okay, so that would be your main focus for chapter 1. Okay, good, right? Okay, so now let's move to chapter 2. Right, so in chapter 2, what did we learn here? Can you tell me some keyword, please? Okay, so yeah, now we have a guys. All right, I'm waiting. desperately.
Okay. So based, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Okay, so based on what I learned 2 weeks ago,
Mm.
what I think I remember most about chapter 2 is the keyword is assumptions. Assumptions.
Mm.
So like we have to make some assumptions so to make all the complex world become easier to
Mm.
understand.
Okay, very good, right? Yes, so it's like when you learn in your high school. When we want to understand something, we have to have a development for the theory first before we can talk about something that is more complicated, right? So this applies for economic study too, because study economics like the real thing that happened in our real economic at the same time, and then you just use some very basic theory to learn the complicated things, so that would be very challenging. So we tend to make the assumption to simplify things first. So when we simplify things and then we understand that, right, it's linked to the reality, so we will complicate that theory, right, and then fit it with the realities. Okay, so that is the role of assumption. Right. So before, like beside assumptions, what else that we learned here? Anyone? Okay, so Anh Thơ, Đào Thị Anh Thơ. Yes, Anh Thơ.
Okay, so I remember about the economic model,
Mm.
the diagram, and also the production possibilities, frontiers, as you show in the screen.
Okay, very good. Right. So before like after we learn about the role of assumption, so that we discussed two types of economic model that usually apply to our economy. Okay, so the first one would be the circular flow diagrams. I think that one is pretty simple, and then you will see that one again in the macroeconomy. Okay, it's like when you buy something. Okay, for example, you buy a glass of milk tea, so you pay the cash to the milk tea shop owners. And then the multi shop owner will use that cash, a portion of it, to pay like income or salary to her employee. Okay. And then the employee will use that money to buy a glass of milk tea. Okay. So it's like a circular, right? It's like when we buy something, it means we buy the products through the market of goods and services. And then when the owners of that shop, they get the money or like they pay the money to their employee, it means they pay it through the market of production. Okay, is where the labor they provide their labor force here. And then the labor force will also use the money again as their income to buy products. Okay, so that's how we talk about a circular. Right, but the key thing I want to focus more on my section is about the second model, the PPF, which is more difficult. All right, so PPF, as you see, what is it, guys? What is a PPF? Okay, so Bảo.
PPF is the production possibility concept. I think it's so about that's going to be on the possible combination of an output that an economy can produce from its given input and its technologies. So this give the what the country has to work to input and the technologies. I think so.
Okay, very good. Right. So, yes, PBF, it tell you about productivities of a country. And here we make the assumption that, right, if there are only two products to be produced in a country, so we can use the PPF to illustrate the productivity of a country, right? So that is the total combination of output that an economy can produce, given the available factors of production. Okay, so some factor of production that I think that Bảo just mentioned, it could be the technology, it could be the labor force, it could be the natural resources, or it could even be the knowledge acquired by the labor too. All right, so it means if we utilize all of that resources for our production of our country, so how many output that our country can produce. Okay, and then that is illustrated on a PPF curve. Right, so you can see here computers and cars. So if we make the assumption that this economy only produce only two types of products, computer and car, so the ability to produce, or like the combination of car and computer to be produced, will be illustrated on this curve. Okay, right. So I just need you to answer my question here. If you answer that question correctly, so you understand all of the things related to this figure, and then that just happily for chapter 2. Okay, right. So why the PPF is having the shape like this? Right, why is having the shape to be, why is both our words like this? Okay, tell me the reason. All right, so I see some of you raising their hand. Okay, so what about Thảo Trang? Yes, Thảo Trang.
Because the input are used to produce cars, and the inputs used to produce computers are different. It's specialized, so the BF is bound. Do you hear my?
Okay, all right. Yeah, I can hear your answers. So you just mentioned about the resources are different, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we have the slope, like the curve, to be having the shape like this. All right. So any other reason? All right. So thanks, Jane, for your answers. Any other reasons? So I would like to hear from all of you before I can come to the conclusion. All right. So Thảo, Thanh Thảo. Yes, Thanh Thảo.
The in my opinion, the reason why we have a policy is that the opportunity cost rise as the economy produce more of the good. That means the opportunity change over the time. It doesn't remain the same.
Okay, very good, right? The thing is that we have an increasing opportunity cost, but why? Why we face that problem here? Why? Yeah.
Because we have different factors, like we can have more workers, we can use we can apply more modern technology into our production to make it optimized to reduce the cost. That means the opportunity cost will not the same over the time.
Okay, right. So that's our opinion, right? Okay, so thank you a lot. What about Phương Nhi? Yes, Phương Nhi, can you tell me your answers?
I think it's because of the inequality of the available factors on the production.
The availability, is it what you mean?
Like inequality of the factor as if it has some technology system to produce computer more specialized than in case that colleges are less special.
Okay, right. So it's just about the resources, and then like you mentioned, if we have more like technology improvement for car computers, so we don't have to fight that problem or something. Is it what you mean? Okay, right. All right, so what I want you to see is that we all know that given we have the curve to be downward sloping like this, we will face what is called trade-off, right? Because we learned about trade-off in chapter 1. So it means if this economy use all of its available resources for computers, it cannot produce any cars here. You see zeros? But if it use all resources just to produce car, so it can produce 1,000, but 0 for computers. So it means we face trade-off here, right? But the thing is that the trade-off rate could also be the case for the curve, which is downward sloping and then a straight line, like the figure I presented here. Okay, so what is the difference for a straight line curve and above our curve? Right, like Thảo, I think that she mentioned already. Given the straight line curve, you see that, right? If I want to build one more car here, I give up the same amount of computer over time, right? The straight line. See that? You see the arrow here? This is having the same amount. For every car that you produce more, you give up the same amount of computers, given the straight line. But look at the both our curve. So even if you want to build one more car here, okay, you see that? Right. I want to build the same number of car, but at first I give up a very small amount of computers. But later on, here, I want the same amount of car to be produced. I give up a larger amount of computers. Okay, see what I mean here? Right. The thing is that, like Thảo just mentioned, we face an increasing opportunity cost in this second figures. Right. The amount of computer that we need to give up for every car produced is increasing over time. Okay, right. You see the difference between the first one and the second? Yes, right? All right. So why? Why is that? So let me give you an example so that I think you can understand it easier. All right. So let's make the assumption. Now, assuming that our class belongs to this economy, and then here we have 35 students, right? So at first, I may allocate the resources equally. It means you guys here are the main labor force. And then, yeah, in the class, we only consider labor to be the factor of production, nothing related to technology to make it simple. Okay, so first of all, I divide the class into 2 equal parts. And 17 students, you guys produce computers. And then 18 students, you guys produce cars. Okay, it's simply approximately equal. So at first we may be here, right? Somewhere here. Okay, so now there are some new on the market that make the price of car to be higher and higher. So I want to shift our focus. I want to fit, this economy focus to car production, right? So now what should we do in this case? Given our class belong to this economy, so if I want more car here, what should we do? Can you tell me? Yes. Bảo Lâm. Yes, Bảo Lâm. Okay, very good, right? So the answer is very simple, like Lam just mentioned. We will have to reallocate the labors, right? And here, maybe I need to move more and more labor from computers to car industry. For example, I move 7 labor from computer here to car industry and force them to produce cars. All right. So now, how many students that I have remaining for computers? Only 10 students. Okay. So at first, it's pretty fine with this economy because the 10 remaining students, right, it's still reasonable for them to cover the production of the entire industry. So that's why the amount of computer that you need to give up first is pretty small because we still have 10 labor remaining. But again, as I want more and more car to be produced, I want more and more car, for example, A to B, or like from B to E here. So even if I want this economy to produce the same amount of car as I want before, what should I do here? Again, I will have to move more and more labor, right? So it means that I will need to move maybe 5 students from computer and then move them to car. So now only 5 students remaining here for the computer industry, right? So do you think that they can cover the production for the entire industry? Impossible for them to do so, Okay, so it means that if I am here already and then I want the same amount of car to be produced, so I will have to move another labor from computer and then force them to produce car. And then imagine that they are the key labor here. So it means that when they leave the industry, that will be a significant loss for all of the remaining labors. Okay, so as I move along the curve, that problem is getting more and more serious. And then the amount of computer that I need to keep up is getting larger and larger over time because of that. All right, so what is the story behind all of the story that I tell you? The thing is that when I keep moving the labor in that way, do you think that they know exactly how to produce car immediately? No, impossible, right? I will have to retrain them, give them time to, do some kinds of sample before I can officially use them as the labors for the car production to reduce the errors, for example. And then pre-training costs incur. So that is also a part of opportunity cost too. Okay, right? So that tells you the importance of resources. If we keep using resources in that way, so we will face the problem of inefficiency, right? We are wasting the resources because resources are scarce, right? Are limited. So here, the importance of specialization is what we learn in chapter 2. So if we can allocate the resources based on their specialization, we can reduce what is called the increasing in opportunity cost and then increase like reducing the waste of resources for our societies. Okay, so in chapter 3, we will address that specialization concept by doing some calculation, right? So we know specialization is important, but how can we determine our specialization from our resources? That will be addressed in chapter 3. Okay, right. So again, all the things you learn from 1 to 3, you see the connection, right? Okay, opportunity cost, then specialization, and then chapter 3 is all about specialization. Okay, right. So before we move to chapter 3, there's just one thing that I want to acknowledge to you. All right. So can we produce at point C? Can we produce here? Impossible, right? Because if we use all resources, we can produce on the curve, not outside. But can we produce inside the curve? Yes, right. Okay. So we can produce inside the curve for sure. But the problem here is that we have the resources to produce on the curve, but due to some issue, we fail to do so. For example, our class 35 students, but only 30 students decide to work. The 5 remaining students just go out with their friends. Or maybe they just join the class and then they turn off the camera, go out with their friends. Okay? Yeah, you see my point? We have resources, but we fail to manage it effectively. So we may produce inside the curve. And the problem here is about unemployment. That will be addressed by the end of this course. Okay? Right. So that's just all thing I want you to cover for chapter 2. Is it good to you until now? Good, right? Okay. So let's move to chapter 3. Okay, so for chapter 3, I think I will give you more time to do the practical exercise to determine the specialization. Okay? All right, so chapter 3, can you tell me anything you still remember from chapter 3 about specialization? Yeah, chapter 3, guys. Okay, so Lam again.
So the thing I remember most from chapter 3 is absolute advantage and comparative advantage.
Okay,
Yeah.
so absolute and comparative advantage, very good. Right. So yeah, so what is the absolute advantage? Can anyone tell me? What is absolute advantage? Beside Lam and all right, so maybe Hui. Yes, Hui.
Yes, so the absolute advantage is like the ability to produce a good by using fewer input for compared to another producers. Like we
Okay.
use less effort to produce the same quality of goods rather than other producer.
All right, very good, right? So it means that if you can produce something using fewer resources than the others, right? It means you have the absolute advantage. Like when you read PE chapter 1, 2, 3 for an hour, but your friend take them maybe 3 hours, so you have the absolute advantage. That's just very simple. Okay, so it means that at first, for the theory of traits, so the theory of absolute advantage is firstly developed by Adam Smith, right? Long times ago. I think it's maybe the year of 1800. So at that time, Adam Smith thought that, right, only the country with absolute advantage can benefit from trade. So it means that if you are good at, absolute advantage, so you can trade with the others, and then you can benefit from trade. Okay? Right, okay, just give me a second. But later on, that theory doesn't work anymore, right? Why? Because you know that it's not all the time that country is having the absolute advantage, right? Some country, like developing country, they may have a very good, absolute advantage. But for the other developing country, they don't even have any absolute advantage. So how can they benefit from trade? Okay, so this means that this is another theory that they use to develop the trade. It's not the absolute advantage anymore, but 100 later, David Ricardo come up with another theory to talk about trade. That is the theory of comparative advantage. So what is the idea behind that theory? Can anyone share with the class? Yes, please. Or someone that I haven't called you yet, or maybe just less than the others, so I will prioritize you. Maybe Anh Thư. Okay, yes, Anh Thư. Yes, Anh Thư.
So the theory of competitive advantage is that the business should follow the policy that create a high quality good to sell at high price in the market.
Okay, is it about the comparative advantage? Right, comparative advantage is different with competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is when we talk about a certain firms, right? But comparative means it's just about trade, about specialization, okay? Right, so Thư, will you want to change your answers?
Yeah, comparative advantage is that each good should be produced by the individual that has the smaller opportunity cost of producing that good. Is it correct?
Okay, right. Yes, that is the correct answers. So if you can produce a good using fewer, like using a lower opportunity cost compared to the other, it means you have the comparative advantage. Okay, right. So now let's practice the calculation of comparative advantage and absolute advantage to determine specialization, and then let's see how can trade can benefit all country. Okay, all right. So let's have a look at my exercise here. Right, I think to share this file is better. All right, so now I have an example for you about Japan and Vietnam. So the thing is, right, at first, you can see that if we base on this file, this exercise for you to compare the case of with a tree and then with tree for Vietnam and Japan. How can they benefit from how can they benefit from their comparative advantage, from their specialization to benefit from the trade market here? Right, so at first, what is your conclusion for Japan and Vietnam? Okay, by looking at the first table here, so what is your conclusion for that exercise? Okay, so what about Lâm? Yes, Lâm. Okay. All right. So it means that Japan is having the absolute advantage in rising car production, right? Correct, right? Because you see, Japan only 1 hour and then can produce only like 3 tons of rice and 6 car, but Vietnam only 2 tons of rice and 3 car here. Okay, so Vietnam is that have the absolute advantage in all price and then car production, but Vietnam nothing. Okay, right. But as we learn, right, the reason for trade is not about the absolute advantage. This is about a comparative advantage. So now let's see that relationship clearer by comparing the case of trade and then trade and without trade. Okay, so at first, if Japan and Vietnam they don't trade with each others, and then they just produce and consume inside their country. So they allocate an equal amount for rice and cow produced. So can you tell me how many tons of rice, how many cars that Japan and Vietnam can produce in this case? They spend 12 hours for each product, right? So can you calculate using your calculators next to you and tell me what is the total amount? Okay, so Phương Nghi.
So Japan can produce 36 tons of rice
Mm.
and 72 numbers of car,
Mm.
while Vietnam can produce 24 tons of rice and 36 numbers of car.
All right, very good, right? So we just need to take the hours used for each production and then multiply with the number of output produced in an hour. So we have the result here. Okay, so if you sum up the two given results for rice and car, we see that at first, Japan and Vietnam people can consume 60 tons of rice and a total of 108 cars. Okay, right. Understand this point, right? Okay, just a calculation. Okay, so at first, the total production equal to the total consumption of the people in both two countries. And then this is our estimation. Right, so now, Japan and Vietnam, they learn economic class, and then they know that they can benefit from the comparative advantage to receive the gain. So they will make decision by following the comparative advantage. Okay, right. And then in order for them to do so, they need to compare the opportunity cost of producing a ton supply and a car. Okay, so based on the information we have here, can you tell me what is the opportunity cost of producing a ton supply and a car for Japan and Vietnam? Okay, that is my question for you. I see 3 hands raising here. I think it's just all about the old face. Okay, Nghi and Thu and all right, so maybe I will call Thu. Yes, so Thu.
Okay, so for me, the opportunity cost of tons of rice for Japan is uh six cars, but for Vietnam is only 3 cars.
Okay, so
Is it
how can you
correct?
come up
Or
with?
we divide 6 divide 3?
Okay, it's your answer, right? So just tell me. All right, I don't care about right or wrong, guys. So just let me know so I can correct you. Yes, so your answer here.
My answer for Japan is 2, and for Vietnam
2,
is
okay,
1.5.
is 1.5. All right, good. And for the case of car here,
I answer 2.
yes, the same.
For me, for the Japan is 0.5 and Vietnam is 2 divide 3. I think so.
Okay, 2 divided 3, or like we have 2/3, approximately 0.67. All right. Okay. So here that calculation is very important because that will tell you about the comparative advantage of firm and then their decision. Okay. So here opportunity cost, it just simply means what you give up to do something. So if Japan spend their hours to produce a ton supply, how many cars that they need to give up? Okay, right. So we just look at the Japan roast. You see that in an hour they can produce 6 cars. but they can only produce 3 tons of rice. So the amount of car that they can produce in an hour is double the amount for the tons of rice. Okay, so if they spend the hours to produce just a tons of rice, so they will have to give up a double the amount for this tons of rice, or it means 2 cars, or 6 divided by 3. So that's how we calculate the opportunity cost. Okay, see my point, right? All right, so that is a very usual mistake that I observed from the student. Right, because they don't know whether they would take 6 divided by 3 or 3 divided by 6. So if you get one wrong, you can get the other wrong too. Okay, and then you can get the other answer wrong too. Okay, right. So you just need to get one correct for Japan, and then we can do it similarly for Vietnam. It's 3 divided by 2 in the same, columns. Okay. And when this one is correct, it means for this one, it is the reverse of the previous calculation. Okay, right. So this means we take 1 divided by 2 here and 1 divided by 1.5, right? That is our correct answers. So just one correct and the other will be correct. One wrong and the other wrong. All right. So now your conclusion here. Okay, what is your conclusion from our estimation for Japan and Vietnam? Can you tell me? About comparative advantage. Yes. Anyone else? Okay, so Uyên Phương.
So I can say that for 1 tons of rice, the opportunity cost of Japan will higher than Vietnam, while the opportunity cost for 1 car in Vietnam is higher than Japan.
So what is your conclusion for their comparative advantage, Phương? Like, for rice and car, which country is having the comparative advantage in rice? So which country?
You mean
The comparative
the
advantage.
Vietnam.
Vietnam for rice, right? And for car here.
And for car in Japan.
All right, so that is our answers for the comparative advantage. Vietnam is having a lower opportunity cost in rice production, so Vietnam is having the comparative advantage in rice. And similarly for Japan, okay? So now Japan and Vietnam will focus on their comparative advantage to produce and trade, okay? That is also their specialization. So Japan will spend more hours for car, because previously you see that they are both good at rice and car productions. But now they know about their comparative advantage, so they will spend more hours for cars and maybe 5 hours for rice. For Vietnam, previously we are not good at anything, rice and car at the same time, but now we know about our comparative advantage, so we will focus on rice only. So all 24 hours for rice production. Okay, so given this new allocation of hours for productions, can you tell me what is the total production for Japan and Vietnam, given this new allocation of hours? All right, so you can raise the hand. Okay, so Quỳnh Mai. Yes, Quỳnh Mai. Okay, Quỳnh Mai, can you answer?
Em ấn lộn nữa cô. Em chưa tính.
Okay, mistake. What about other students? Just feel free to let me know the answers. Okay, so Phương Nghi. Yes, Phương Nghi.
So Japan produced 15 tons of rice.
Okay, 15.
114 numbers of car. And
All right.
Vietnam is 48 tons of rice and 0 number of car.
Okay, 0 for car. All right, correct, right? Yes, so you do it similarly for the previous calculation technique. Like we take the number of hours, then we multiply with the output produced in an hours. Japan, 5 hours for rice. So it means 3 multiply with 5, and then we have 15. Okay. Okay, so now Japan and Vietnam, they trade with each other at this trading rate. Okay. So they trade 22 cents of price for 38 car. So can you tell me after trade, what is the total ton supply in car that people in Vietnam and Japan can consume here? Right, trading rate. So what is the total amount of price in car that they can consume? Okay, after trade. Can you tell me? All right, so let me just correct the point. All right, anyone? The trading rate. Okay, it just simply means that Japan, they will receive 22 tons supply if they give Vietnam 38 car. And then for Vietnam, if they receive 38 car, they will return 22 tons supply for Japan. Okay, so it's just going around and around with this number, plus and then a minus if you give someone, right? Okay, so let me call Thanh Thảo. Okay, so Thảo.
The number the ton of rice Japan can consume is 37.
Okay, 37 it means you take 15 and then you plot 22 right here.
Yes.
Okay, correct.
Yes.
And for Vietnam here
is 26. I take 48 minus 22.
Okay, so it means we Vietnam give Japan 22 tons supply. And then the thing they have remaining would be 26 tons supply. Okay. And for car here?
For cars, Japan can consume 106 cars. That means I take 100. Japan can consume 76 cars.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that means I take 114 minus or 38 cars.
Okay, because we give Vietnam 38 car for Japan and we have only 76 car remaining. Okay,
Yes.
and Vietnam here, how many
And
car?
Vietnam have 38 cars because Vietnam received 38 cars from Japan.
Okay, very good, right. So yeah, so you can see that given Thảo answer, so this is the total of rice and then car that people in Japan and Vietnam can consume. So it compare for, if you sum up the two numbers, so we can see that now people in both countries can consume more tons of rice than before and more cars than before. Okay, that is when we talk about the benefit of trade. Okay, right? So when we talk about Japan and Vietnam separately, so can you tell me how many more car and how many more tons of rice that Japan and Vietnam here can consume? Okay, so here let's talk about Japan first. Previously, they had 36 car, but now they have 37. So they can consume one more ton supply, right? Okay, and next for Vietnam. Previously, we can produce and consume 24, but now 26. So we can consume 2 more tons supply. And also for Japan, we have 72, but now 76. So 4 more cars. And for Vietnam, 36 and 38. So 2 more cars. Okay, so this example tell you about the benefit of trade. Trade can make everyone to be better off. Okay, right? So, but there are some conditions. Firstly, when country understand their specialization and allocate resources based on specialization to come up with their comparative advantage, right? They can benefit from trade. But at the same time, if they trade at a suitable trading rate, so they can benefit from trade for all two countries. Okay, right. So I think that some of you may question on how can we come up with this trading rate. Okay, There's the secret behind that trading rate. Okay, so now let me tell you. Right, so the trading rate is that 22 tons supply for 38 cars. So if we convert it on one basis, for example, okay, so if we convert on one basis, for example, here 1 tons of rice, so it could be converted by 38 divided by 22 tons of rice. So here, if we take 38 divided by 22, we have the result to be approximately 1.72 tons of rice. Okay, and if we consider one car basis, so we can take what is called 22 divided by 38 tons of rice. Okay, tons of rice. Let's see, this is not tons of rice, but this might be car here. Give me a second. Right, car here and car here. It's when we convert on one basis. Right, so the answer here would be approximately 0.50, or I think that's 54 or something. Right, ton supply. Okay, so you can see here, a ton supply basis means price is the basis. So the trading rate must be within the opportunity cost calculation as we had before. Okay, so the rate must be smaller than 1.5, sorry, larger than 1.5, but it must be smaller than 2. So that will give you a suitable trading rate that benefit all two countries from the trade. And if we talk about car basis, so the conclusion is very simple. The trading rate must be within the range. This means larger than 0.5 and smaller than 0.67. So that we can determine the suitable trading rate. And we talk about car basis or rate basis. So it's up to you. Okay, so as you know the secret, so later on for your examination, I will ask you again. Okay, I may just give you the tables and then ask you what is the suitable trading rate that benefit to country. Okay, so yeah, you just need to make sure that it is fit with the range. Okay, otherwise two countries cannot benefit from trade. Okay, right. So before we have a break, just one small, very small thing. Here, okay. So, okay, look at here. This is our first exercise. Okay, about Japan and Vietnam. And then this is the second exercise. So do you think that the second is similar to the first exercise? Is it similar to the first exercise? This is second exercise. This is first exercise. So it's similar or different? And then what is the difference? Right, raise the hand and tell me. Yes, Bảo Lâm. Okay, right. Yeah, that is our difference. It means that firstly, I provide you this is quantity of output produced in an hour, and secondly, this is the labor hour needed to produce a unit of products. So when we have that difference, will you change your answer for the opportunity cost calculation? Will we change our answers? All right, so if you change the answer, can you tell me what is the result for the second exercise? Right. Bảo Lâm. Okay, anyone? What is our answer here? So, firstly, if we talk about absolute advantage, for the first exercise, Japan is having the absolute advantage in rice and car produced. But for the second exercise, is it Japan? No, right? Vietnam is the one that has the absolute advantage in rice and car. It takes Vietnam only 2 hours for one car, sorry, for 1 ton of rice, and 3 hours for cars. So Vietnam is the one to have the absolute advantage in the second exercise, but not Japan. Okay, so given that difference, our answers may change for the opportunity cost. All right, so anyone, can you tell me what is your answer here? For the opportunity cost calculation, right? What is your answers? Previously, we did 6 divided by 3. Okay, all right, so let me ask, let's answer the question together. All right, so let's look at the second one first, because I think the second one is easier for you. Right, so opportunity cost of producing a car. Again, don't let the terms confuse you. Opportunity cost is just simply what you give up to produce a car here. So for Japan, if they spend the resources to produce a car, how many tons of price that they need to give up? Okay, so look at Japan. Japan, in 6 hours, they can produce a car, but they need only 3 hours to produce a tons of rice. So if Japan spends 6 hours just to produce a car here, how many tons of rice that they need to give up? So it must be 2, right? Okay, it's like quy tắc tăng suất that we learned in our secondary school. Okay, so that would be 2 here. And if you get this one correct, so for Vietnam, it's similar. This will be 3 divided by 2 for Vietnam, 1.5. All right, so if this one is all correct, for the answer here, just simply 1, and then you divide it by this one. Okay, and then you have the result to be 0.5 and then 0.67 for the case of Vietnam. Always mean this is the revert of the previous exercise. Okay, so again, read the question carefully for me. Quantity or labor hours, they are all the method to talk about productivities. Okay, so for different exercise, for different, information, we will have different result. Okay, good, right? Okay, so good. So let's have a break of 15 minutes, and then we will come back at 6:42 for the 4, 5, and 6. Okay, right. So see you after the break.